Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Anthony Davis leads the Lakers to a closer than necessary win. Does it say something about the Lakers season and AD? That's all next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. Always free, this one is, and never behind paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube, Andy, is where over 27,000. Yeah, this number's so big sometimes I can't even remember it. 27,000 subscribers are all pleased the Lakers won and probably a little annoyed at how it happened. 112-107, the final score Monday night in Charlotte, the second game of this fairly extended road trip. Lakers playing tonight against a shorthanded Philadelphia squad with a chance, Andy, to go 9 games over 500. So a lot of stuff to sort of unpack from this episode, including the incredible performance of Anthony Davis in Monday's game. Before we get to it, though, I want to let everybody know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5. If you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. So for me, and this will be in the newsletter of tomorrow, I should say today, for people who are getting the Locked On Lakers newsletter, this game to me kind of summarizes the season in a lot of ways, but I think, and I'll explain why in a minute, but I feel like we got to start with what Anthony Davis did. Andy, a monster first quarter, a monster final stat line, and he is the reason the Lakers won this game.
There is no question. Anthony Davis, 42 points, 23 rebounds, 8 on the offensive glass, 8 offensive rebounds. That is almost as many offensive rebounds as Charlotte had as a team. 8 of 10 from the free throw line, 2 blocks, 2 assists. Did have 4 turnovers, including one that was like really nerve-wracking with about 20 seconds left or something. He got a defensive rebound, and then Josh Green snuck behind him, took the ball away, and then AD fouled Green on a 3. Thankfully, the 3 did not go down, so it only turned into 3 points with the free throws as opposed to 4. But that is one of the few things you could criticize AD for in this game. He finished the first quarter with 21 points and 11 rebounds. Charlotte finished the quarter with 19 points. Per Spectrum Sportsnet, since the 96-97 season, 2 players have recorded 20-point, 10-rebound quarters. Giannis a couple years ago, and now AD. JJ said after the game that AD basically did 2 days worth of work in one game. Basically, the first quarter was, all-star numbers in and of itself, and then the rest of the game, all-star numbers in and of itself. As I tweeted out after the game, AD should get the game ball, and then he should burn it. Because
you should get a game ball and then like another game ball and then another one and then throw them all in the ocean, like you said. But like to your point, Andy, it was Anthony Davis 21, Charlotte 19 at the end of the first quarter. And you get a guy 13 of 50. What was he from a shooting percentage in the first quarter?
Well, he was 7 of 7 to open the game. I don't. Let me look it up really quick.
Exactly what it was. But like, you get a guy in your fantasy team that goes, let's call it, 9 of 11 or whatever.
9 of 12.
9 of 12 from the 4. I knew it was close to that. 21 points, 11 rebounds. Well, that's pretty good. That's a pretty tidy game. He
Plus
finishes, he finishes with 42, and 42 and 23. The last couple games, you go back to, obviously he was outstanding against the Warriors over the weekend and had played a pretty good game against the Celtics. I thought, played well against Washington. You got to go back to the Clipper game, to his last one. I wonder if there's any kind of connection in your mind between his, I don't know, resurgence, if you want to call it that. He's been really good all year, but this feels a little bit more like he looked at the beginning of the season. And the interview with Shams where he talks about wanting another center and just like everything, like sort of just, I see it from a perspective almost as like confidence and assertiveness building up in a lot of different ways. I'm wondering if you see any connection between these.
Maybe not for the exact same reason you're putting it, like the idea that confidence brewing around the timing of this interview, like the interview.
No, I'm not saying the interview triggered it. I'm saying the game and the quality of play and the interview are all kind of representative of this sort of, taking control a little bit of being the voice of a team.
I guess. I mean, it certainly could be that. I mean, this is the most direct AD has been with a quote at minimum since he said that the team didn't know what they were supposed to be doing during the playoffs, which played no small role in Darvin Ham being dismissed. It's one of the most direct, because, I mean, AD will maybe 3 or 4 times a season offer an incredibly blunt assessment of what is going on. Mm-hmm. Like, he is, for the most part, we've talked about this before, AD's a soldier, like in the way that he conducts himself. He is somebody that doesn't go around making a ton of waves. We've said on the floor, like, over the course of the season, you'll see maybe a dozen bad shots from Anthony Davis. Like, he does not color outside the lines, even though we've both said at times it wouldn't be the worst thing if every now and then he colored a little messy. Like, most superstars give themselves that liberty. AD doesn't. It was very similar to the way Powell played. Like, Powell is very much, I follow the game plan. But what I do think, though, is when Anthony Davis made that statement to Shams, among other things he said, he put a target on his own back. Because if you say this stuff and then you play like crap, you look foolish in the process. Mm-hmm. And you look like a guy who's spouting off but can't deliver on your own end. And ever since that interview, again, however connected they are,
even before, a little bit before that, but
especially since,
for sure,
you put a big spotlight on yourself, and this game was no exception. The way he performed, like, I don't have every 5-man lineup in front of me, but I'm willing to bet that the better your plus minus was in this game, the more time you spend on the floor with Anthony Davis.
It's I think what was unique,
most other guys on this team, I thought, were somewhere between up and down, good at times, not so good at times, and just flat out not that good.
Yeah, I mean, like LeBron, for example, to use him as a for example here, the finishing line 22, 7, and 8 isn't terrible. There's nothing wrong with that. And 9 of 17 from the floor, so reasonably efficient. Did miss 7 of 8 threes, but managed to find other ways to score. But the 5 turnovers that he had, and it interestingly, there was almost a 6th in the fourth quarter, reasonably late, and it actually turned into a 4-point play. They got the ball back into the scramble. Max was fouled on a 3, and like that switch, like that should have been his 6th turnover.
Yeah.
And the Lakers turned the ball over 19 times. We'll get to this in a second here.
Gave up 28 points in the process.
This, we probably should have mentioned earlier in the show. Lakers were up by 20s, up by more than 20 in the first quarter. Yeah. And this became a game, and it shouldn't have. And like I said, it's a microcosm of the season. But, this was as direct as Anthony Davis has not been about, like, I want to be a 4 and not a 5. He says that 3 or 4 times a year. But go get me a center. Like, what do you think we need? We need a center. Like Rob Pelinka, hi, we need a center. Go get one. That, in terms of directness, is a different step. And I don't like to read too much into things, but I think that was significant. And so, we'll see. We'll see if it continues. Certainly no Joel Embiid tonight in Philadelphia. No Paul George.
No Caleb or KJ Martin, no Andre Drummond, obviously no Jared McCain, who's been out this whole season.
Most of it.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, ever since hurting himself, he's out for the season, I should say.
And I will say no excuse for AD not to have another good game tomorrow, except that the Lakers really did squander an opportunity to give all these guys a lot of rest.
Yep.
After an emotional game over the weekend in Golden State, always is when you go play Steph and that national TV, you come to this one and certainly a letdown there. But like I said, I want to get to why I think this game is so representative of the season. We'll do that next.
On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59's here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds. Feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle, and the live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field. The app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet, just $5 in Abe Lincoln, and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that is icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 59.
So, on the one hand, Andy, the Lakers got off to a great start. Like their defensive pressure, that was arguably the best quarter I think they've played all season. Like that 39 points they scored, guys were flying around the court. They were almost never up against a set Charlotte defense. Because their defensive pressure was so good, Charlotte's offense was completely thrown off kilter. The Lakers either forced turnovers or forced bad shots and were quick up the floor. I mean, really quick up the floor. Gave themselves a bunch of easy opportunities at the basket. Anthony Davis was dominant. All this other stuff. They look fantastic. Quarters 2 and 3 especially, really sluggish. They did make some plays in the fourth when they kind of needed to. They also didn't make some plays in the fourth that necessitated needing to make the plays that they did make. The final 3 quarters, JJ Redick said he thought they played hard. He thought they completely lost focus. Their mental performance was really bad.
Stu Lance during the game said, quote, "This is one of those games. They came out focused in the first quarter, and then the rest of the game has been one of those sigh games where you get a big lead and then you take a sigh of relief." And it's interesting. JJ said afterwards, like you'd mentioned, that he thought that the team played hard, but they were not mentally focused. He talked about there was a few sequences where they did not run the play that JJ called. He mentioned that, Dorian turned over an inbound because he was rushing it, and he was like, with this, there was very little time in the clock. Like they're looking to burn clock at this point.
And that became a 3-pointer.
Right. There's no reason to do that. And JJ said he wasn't sure if this was an issue of lapses in focus, just because that's been something that's happened with this team all season long, or the time change going from West Coast to East Coast, body and mental clocks on a completely different time zone, like whatever. But it was very clear that they certainly did not seem to be regularly fighting the urge to let minds wander. And I think Stu was correct when he said that, the tone was in a lot of ways set by 20-point lead built up in the first quarter. Maybe you didn't feel collectively like you were all there mentally anywhere, and everyone just felt this opportunity to relax. Yep. And I know we're going to get into some of the lineups that took place without Rui Hachimura, and especially without Gabe Vincent in terms of ball handlers. And there's no question that was a problem.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
But the flip side is, though, and this is where I think you can only give the Lakers so much leeway for that legitimate issue. The Hornets lost LaMelo Ball 7 minutes into this game, and they're already without Brandon Miller, and LaMelo Ball is by far the most dynamic player and specifically playmaker on this team. His absence should, for basically an entire game, he played 7 minutes and then went out with an ankle sprain. his absence should at minimum be a neutral against Gabe Vincent's absence.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And like I am not a huge believer yet in Melo as like a quote unquote winning player. But yes, like they lost LaMelo Ball, the Lakers lost Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent. Like that shouldn't equal out to the same thing. And so, I 100% agree with you. Whether they, I do think the lack of continuity in the rotations makes a difference in terms of your execution, your timing. But the hop wasn't there. It wasn't the same energy as there was early when they came out. And so, look, this happens all the time, and good teams will often let bad teams back in games. Look around the NBA, this kind of thing happens all the time. But why I think this is such a microcosm is like the Lakers come out, what we are looking for constantly is like signs of what they are, like signs that they are better than some of the metrics might say they are, better than some of these wild swings in performance might say they are. Like, what is the consistent core of this group? You come out after a great win in Golden State and you play arguably your best quarter. I'm not saying you got to stay, turn a 23-point lead into a 50-point lead. Like, it'd be great if you did, but like, again, that doesn't usually happen in the league. Like, I expected 100%, even if the Lakers continue to play well, that at some point Charlotte would be within 10, 12, 14, something like that. Of course they will. And then the Lakers push it back to 18, 20. And the game would mostly be played in that 10-point band between 10 and 20 for most of the time. They got to within 3.
Right.
Like that wasn't right. And so
in a game that Charlotte never led at any point.
Correct. Good teams really, if Oklahoma City had a game like this, you would say, all right, guys, come on, do better next time. But we've seen it. We've seen what you've done throughout the season. When the Lakers do it, you're like, okay, which one of these things was the mirage? Was it the great first quarter, or was it the section of third where like all of a sudden the offense looked really kind of bad again? You don't quite know what they are. The flip side is, Andy, they're now 8 games over 500, which is a high water mark. They are moving more, keep inching towards that, top 6. They should be, or have a really good opportunity to be, 10 games over 500 by the end of the week, because they play Philly tonight by the end of the work week at least, and then Washington on Thursday. So like they could be in a really good spot. 10 games over 500 is pretty good.
What's funny is I don't consider either when you were saying, what's the real thing? What is the mirage? Like how to figure it out? I think the answer is it's all real.
Yes.
The thing that you're trying to figure out is, has this team accepted the idea that they always have to play hard with a sense of urgency and focus, paying attention to the details? Like, that's what ultimately controls this team's ceiling. Because, outside of, we've mentioned before, they are not steeped in talent in a way that allows them to coast. They have enough talent that they can be a good team, but what they're not is a team that can coast on their talent. And, it was interesting after the Golden State win, Anthony Davis was being interviewed, I want to say by Cassidy Hubbard afterwards, and was asked, what's one of your takeaways from this win? And AD said that we have to play with a sense of desperation, which echoes a drum you and I have been beating this entire season, that these guys do not consistently play hard and focused enough. Like, if JJ wants to say tonight he thought they played hard enough, fine. That's okay. I'm not even looking to debate, except by his own admission, they were not focused enough. They have to be both, because if you give most young teams, most bad teams, the opportunity not just to win, but to beat the Lakers with LeBron and AD, they're going to take it.
Well, at the very least, they're going to give it their best shot.
Right. They're going to take the opportunity. I'm not saying they'll cash in, but they will want this opportunity.
Yeah. And he called them he said this a few times. LeBron echoed the same thing in the locker room after Monday's game. He called them an execution team.
Yeah.
The first thing, I mean, obviously playing hard is really important all the time and all that. And I have long, going back a long way, like said, like it is sometimes difficult to distinguish between not playing hard and not playing well. And sometimes playing unfocused, playing poorly, whatever, looks like you're not playing hard. Your step slowed, everything, you're tired, whatever it might be. But unfocused, I think, is a really good word for that, because if you are a team by your own admission, where your coach says, your star says, we are an execution-based team. Execution requires focus.
Yeah.
All the time. You cannot execute if you are not focused. And so when focus goes, their performance is going to go. And like that second quarter, especially, you could see it like turned off, and where, shot clock violations, not getting to their offense. But again, that the pace, just that focus, like, we got to go a little bit faster, guys. We got to go a little bit faster. We got to get up into the thing. And I know people say, well, the rotation was different, this, that, whatever, even notwithstanding the quality of the players that were missing, arguing about all that stuff. Good teams execute almost no matter who's in the lineup.
Yeah.
Like you see, like the Clippers, they may not win when Harden and Kawhi don't play as much, but they always execute. They also work their asses off, but that's a different question. Memphis, look at all the injuries they've had over the last couple seasons. Have all, especially and this year, missing Ja for a lot, missing Bane for a lot. Smart's barely played. Like they've got guys in and out of the lineup all the time. They always execute. And so no matter who's there. And so the Lakers need to find a place where they can execute. And if they lose, it's because, you know what? The other team had better players tonight, or maybe they hit their shots or whatever it might be. They don't have that. And I think that's the thing that you look at and say, until they start to show that for a month, it's hard to fully buy in, but you can't say they, like, these people are they're a fraud. Like, that ain't it either.
No. There was another thing, though, that jumped out at me for tonight's game that I think is instructive when it comes to the upcoming trade deadline. So get into that coming up next. Gabe Vincent missed tonight's game. He banged knees during the Golden State game. There's hope that he could be available, and Rui, for that matter, against Philly, certainly for this road trip. At the very least, JJ said he thought both would be back at some point. But
they did recall Bronny to join the team tonight.
That gets to what I was about to mention. I actually tweeted out at Cam Brothers before the game that I'm not predicting it, but with Gabe sidelined, I wouldn't be shocked to see Bronny get a few actual real minutes in this game. The Lakers need more guys who can handle the ball. Shake Milton has not been effective, and options are low. Bronny, as it turns out, was not active for this game, and obviously I did not realize that when I tweeted this out. But what was reflected from what was in line with my original tweet was they really struggled, particularly the second unit, the time when you would have Gabe out there. Like, maybe he is just completely out of rhythm because he's played so little. Maybe he just is not following the schemes that JJ wants. Maybe it's just, as we predicted, Shake Milton was not going to end up in this rotation anyway. But he has been awful in the last.
He's been worse than I mean, I was like, he's a scorer first. He's not a point guard, and not like a real, but he's been frankly worse than I expected.
Yeah. And I remember a couple weeks ago, I had said, this is sort of the immediate heels of the D'Lo trade, that I thought maybe it would be worth giving Shake a little run just because they needed somebody who is a guard and that's part of his job. He just is really, really not fitting on either side of the ball with what they're doing, which again led to me thinking maybe Bronny would actually get some minutes. It wouldn't shock me if he's active against Philly. But this game demonstrated, because for example, for you and I don't think Valanciunas is a particularly good acquisition to begin with, but for the people that want a big center and big body, don't care who it is, and Gabe's salary matches up basically perfect with Valanciunas' salary, this game demonstrated you cannot trade Gabe Vincent for Jonas Valanciunas unless you know for damn sure there's another guard coming in
Gotta get a guard
from somewhere. Like, I don't think it's a good idea anyway, but I'd rather have Gabe than Valanciunas. But this game demonstrated you cannot do that.
Yeah, and the fact that you are down, and look, Bronny, to his credit, has kind of very quietly put together some nice numbers in the G League level. And I don't know if that means anything for his pro prospects, because he is still wildly undersized for the position he plays, and needs as a guy who's going to build a reputation as a defender. He's short. He's strong, but he's short. It's going to be hard, but he's putting up good numbers, and good things seem to be happening. He is not, at least you wouldn't think. I don't want to say not. Maybe he comes up and surprises you if you got to play him for 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. He does not seem like somebody who belongs on an NBA court in real leverage minutes. And because it would be unfair to him to ask him to do that. And so the fact the Lakers are in a position where they might need him to play is a bad sign for the construction of the roster.
Yeah, I mean, I had some pushback on Twitter. People saying like, "Oh, are you kidding? Like, you're going to have the 55th pick who shouldn't even be in the league, blah blah blah. You're going to give those minutes to him." I'm like, no, this is not my recommendation. I'm not staunchly advocating for Bronny James to finally get on the court. What the hell have we been waiting for? I'm saying without Gabe Vincent and with Shake Milton being frankly unplayable, and you're down to 2 above average ball handlers in LeBron and, way above average, but you know what I'm saying. LeBron and Austin Reaves are your only 2 above average playmakers and ball handlers on this team. If Gabe isn't you have to at least consider, can we put Bronny on the floor for 5 minutes? Like,
you gotta have, because he can dribble.
Right. I mean, again, this isn't me lobbing for the surprise of the season, the most inspirational moment we're all going to remember for the rest of our lives.
Like, Andy, if you were the 4th guard, like, you know what? And look, JHS, I mean, Hood Schifino would be next in theory.
Yes. He's not healthy.
He's not healthy again. And so, this is just where they are. And so when you think about because the center talk is really, there was reports, Mark Stein, I think, had it that, the Lakers are not going to be in really on Jakob Poeltl because the price there is going to be really high. And also Vucevic.
They could use Sasha right now. They actually could, if Sasha was available, they'd play him right now.
They might. But look, if Sasha costs you a couple first rounders, you've overpaid. So those guys are not likely targets for the Lakers. So you're running out of centers at that point.
And apparently, too, as we've both said, Stein reported that there is no indication that Utah is going to move Walker Kessler.
Yeah, I mean, I keep hearing people say the asking price for Walker Kessler is absurdly high. I'm like, it should be. You should only trade him if somebody makes you an absurdly good offer that you'd be stupid to. If he were 29, it would be different. He's 23. Like, what young prospect are you going to get back that's better than him? Right. So, that being the case, you really do have to start thinking about, okay, if we can't get the type of center that's going to do for AD what AD wants, what are the other priorities on this? Could we get, is a Malcolm Brogdon type a better addition to this than Kelly Olynyk? To put out another name of a gettable backup quality center. Kelly Olynyk's a good player, but which guy would you get more mileage out of, assuming both can stay on the floor? I mean, I don't think the answer there is cut and dry, because you're not going to start and give 29 minutes a game to Kelly Olynyk. And so, I wouldn't mind adding him. Again, he's a good player, and if you want a ball mover, a guy who can do a lot of stuff like that, fits in the offense, he could play with Anthony Davis in the limited minutes that they'd be on the floor together. But he's not a start. You're not going to start games or finish games with him. So it really does become a very interesting question as to what the most important thing that you can get is. And like, if you can't get I want to say star, and really a true, genuinely impact player with those first round picks, is plan B center or bust, or is it a ball handler?
All I can say is after this game tonight, I mean, it's very clear you cannot move Gabe Vincent without knowing another ball handler is on the way. And respectfully, Markelle Fultz does not count. Like, we have not. No, but I mean, because I've seen a lot of people, whether hitting us up on Twitter or in the comments section of the YouTube page, or even people who team like Lakers media, bring up the idea of clear, trade that center X, clear a roster spot in the process, and you sign street free agent Markelle Fultz, or street free agent point guard X. I'm like,
Isaiah Thomas, I saw today, is making another comeback.
Right. Like, there's a reason that dude is a street free agent. Like, are you really going to roll the dice for your playoff rotation with a street free agent point guard who, in the case of someone like Fultz, has been very up and down while he was an actual NBA player? Like, that, frankly, that's kind of crazy.
Before we go, your thoughts on Vando in Monday's game?
He still is showing off the utility that he has. He has an ability to make things happen defensively. He's kind of like a defensive playmaker, and there's an energy elevation, I think, for everybody when he's out there, and he's almost like an electric kick returner. Like that every time he gets near the ball, you wonder if like something big is about to happen. Like, he's obviously not on the talent scale of a Reggie Bush, but for those who remember Reggie Bush at USC, like every time he touched the ball, it felt like something amazing could happen. Like, Vando has the ability to kind of shake things up that way. Again, not making the talent comparison. I'm just talking about changing the dynamic of a game. And again, even tonight in 12 minutes, I don't think he was quite as good tonight as he was against Golden State, but I think you still see the reasons that he matters.
Completely. A couple of limitations, missed a couple shots inside, missed a 3-pointers. Like,
he's never been a great finisher.
Oh yeah, no, it's not his jam.
People focus too much on his lack of outside shot and not enough on he should be a better finisher.
No, that's the part that really matters. I 100% agree with you. But is he a perfect playoff player? He is not. You need guys around him to kind of pick up some of that slack and create the space for him to cut, move, do stuff, because he can make the right pass. He's not a useless offensive player, but he's a limited one. And so you put him and DFS together, maybe like that might be too limited, but like having the option of having one of those guys available to you at all times, if you're Redick, would feel really nice, I think.
I'll say this, if you've got, say, Austin, Max, AD, DFS, and Vando, that's a hell of a defensive, or maybe LeBron in place of Austin. I was just thinking pure. Yeah,
but it wouldn't be you wouldn't do that for 25 minutes a night, but you could, that's got potential. Absolutely.
For 5 minutes, you could F up another offense with that look. Easily.
So we'll see what happens tonight. The Lakers, again, missing a golden opportunity to get their stars some rest. We'll see if there's any hangover. The Sixers, though, are just catastrophically shorthanded in this game. And so there really is no excuse for losing it, even in the third game in 4 nights. So anyway, check out the postcast with Dave Palais after tonight's game. Again, the newsletter. Wrong hand. Locked On Lakers. Newsletter at lockedondaily.com. Click on Locked On Lakers, and if you go there directly, it's good for us. So if you wouldn't mind, and we'll see everyone tomorrow.